Welcome everybody. We're here today to do something a little bit different. It's part of the 2020 Reimagined Transplant Games. We're going to do a cooking show called Cooking with the Foundation Staff. And today we're going to make a Bailey's Irish Cream Cheesecake. But before we do that, we got to introduce our kitchen staff and our foundation team. First, we got Jen Boverhoff, Vice President of Creative Services. We got Alexis Hartman, Director of Fund Development and National Partnerships. We have Kathy Ryan, Marketing Director and Editor of Transplant Nation magazine. Gavin Ryan, Vice President of Operations. Josh Sweetike, Director of Competitions and Multimedia Strategy. And Meg Brownlee, Manager of Communication Strategies. And of course, I'm Bill Ryan. So welcome to the show.
So before we get started, the audience really wants to know, when did you first discover that you really like to cook and bake?
I've always liked to cook and bake, but I got serious about it back in 1988, and I was living in Chicago, and they were offering a lot of cooking lessons and shows locally, so I decided I was going to do something different and started cooking on a regular basis, and here I am. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move into making the crust for the cheesecake. We're going to start with a cup and a quarter of graham cracker crumbs. Now you can get your crumbs a couple of different ways. You can either get it out of a box and just measure out a cup and a quarter, which is what I did, or you can get 9 graham crackers and crush them in a food processor. Mix in a quarter cup of sugar and 3/4 of a cup of melted butter. So you move it in there. And at that point, you're just stirring to combine the breadcrumbs and get them wet. We used to say moist, but nobody likes to say moist anymore. So just get it well mixed up in there. The consistency is crummy and wet. And it goes into the SPRINGFORM pan. So basically at this point we gotta spread it around, and I use a flat bottom bowl to do this, and I just kind of move it around the bottom of the SPRINGFORM pan to get it level and to get a good solid crust developing. Doesn't have to be fancy, but that's ultimately what it's going to look like. Okay, next we got to put it in the oven for approximately 10 minutes. So in the oven, 10 minutes at 350 degrees, and then we move on to the next step. So it's been 10 minutes. The crust should be browned and time to take it out of the oven. So let's take a look at it and see if how it looks. As you can see, it looks pretty much the same as it went in, except it's browner. So we'll set it up here to cool while we make the rest of the ingredients. So now we've got the crust out of the oven and it's cooling on the stove. It's time to assemble the cheesecake. So first ingredients going in is going to be the cream cheese. So we're going to put that cream cheese into the bowl, remembering the cream cheese has been out for approximately 4 hours to soften to room temperature. And you can tell it's pretty pliable. I'm wearing a plastic kitchen glove because it's a little bit easier to kind of manipulate. And then we're going to go ahead and turn on the mixer. Okay.
All right, quick question before we continue. And this is going to be a hard one for you. But what is your favorite event at the games each year? It's hard to choose. There's 60 of them. Choose wisely.
That's tough. It really is a tough question because I like all of them. But I would have to say my favorite is the opening ceremony, followed quickly by the donor tribute, and then everything else is tied for third place. So.
Tied for third. That's nice.
Okay. Yeah, I like it too. All right. So our next ingredient going in is sugar. So we'll put the sugar in a little at a time and stop. Kind of do this in stages so we get so that was 3/4 of a cup of sugar that we added in there, and take the time to scrape down the side of the bowl. It helps get the ingredients mixed better. So, as most good bakers will tell you, it's an important part of the process. So, take the time to do that. I'm going to turn it back on for a few minutes. So basically we're creaming the sugar in with the cream cheese, and you can tell by the texture that it's nice and smooth and looks pretty promising. Next thing, for stability, we're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of flour. This kind of stabilizes the mix. Okay, next ingredient, we've got 3 eggs. Large eggs. They're going to go in one at a time. We'll turn. At this stage, we're just incorporating the ingredients, so it's goes on for just literally 30-40 seconds. Last egg going in. Okay, so I'm going to scrape this bowl down again. Okay, so we'll let that sit for a minute. We've only got 3 ingredients left. Any more questions from our audience?
Yeah. What are a few of your favorite dishes to make besides this fabulous Irish Bailey's cheesecake?
Well, this Bailey's Irish cream cheesecake is the #1 requested recipe that I have, but I would say second would be I make a great meat lasagna. That's that everybody loves. But pies, I do a lot of smoking out on the grill. I mean, I've developed a repertoire of some very popular meals, so I can do anything.
No big deal, right?
Yeah. All right. So so you've got a shot of the mix so far in here. You can take a look at what's in here. The next ingredient's going to be sour cream, and we're doing basically 1 cup and 1 tablespoon of sour cream. And the mix and all the remaining ingredients can now go in together. So there's now 9 ounces of Bailey's and the vanilla. Where's the arm? I can't see it. Did I get you? And this cheesecake is done. As you can see, there's some, chunks and remnants that get on the mixing paddle. So I'm trying to get all of that really good stuff back into the batter. And this is where it kind of makes a lot of sense to get a whisk and kind of finish the job by hand. So, essentially just get in there, and all those chunks and pieces that we put in there are now smoothed out for and we're done.
All right, Bill, another tough question. If you had to describe the games in one word, what would it be?
One word is tough. You're asking a lot of tough questions, but I think inspiring would be the right answer. I think we inspire recipients to, to come out and show how their transplant has returned them to health. Living donors can be inspired to show that their sacrifice gave life and health to another individual, and then inspires donor families to remember their loved ones who gave up the gift of life.
That was beautiful. Now, what are you going to do?
So right now we're down to the pre-oven stages here. So we've got our mixture, and it's going right in the cheesecake pan. It's been wanting to do that all night anyway. Got to get all of that delicious Bailey's cheesecake batter into the pan. Now it should find its center itself and kind of smooth out. You don't really have to do a lot. You could maybe jiggle the pan to get rid of a few bubbles that are there. And this thing is ready to go in the oven. Okay, so now it goes in the oven. Remember, we had preheated the oven at 350 when we made the crust, and it stayed at that. So we're going in the oven at 350, and it goes in for 10 minutes at 350. And at the end of the 10 minutes, we then turn the temperature back down to 250 for another 30 to 35 minutes. And then your cheesecake will be done. Okay, here we go. Cheesecake's coming out of the oven now. I'm going to set it over here on the stove to cool. Let me shut the oven off. And there's our finished product. Okay, here we are. We got our cheesecake out of the oven. It's going to cool for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we're going to take a thin knife and we're going to cut around the inside of the springform pan, release the side of the pan, pull the top off, let it cool for another 15 or 20 minutes, and then put it in the fridge overnight to cool. And that's it. Hi everybody, welcome back. We're finished our cheesecake. It's been chilling in the refrigerator all night long, and now we're gonna make the ganache.
Before you start, what type of chocolate do you like for the ganache? What do you prefer?
I like Ghirardelli chocolate. It's semi-sweet, and it's used it for years, and it's great. So now we're gonna melt the chocolate. Most people would put that chocolate in a double boiler because it's really, unless you know what you're doing, putting the cream and the chocolate right over an open flame is probably not the greatest thing, but get it started in there. The cream will heat up rather quickly. There's 7.5 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, and there's 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. So you can see that the chocolate is already starting to melt. The secret to not breaking the chocolate is to continue to stir it the entire time. And what you're looking for is a silky smooth chocolate finish. The chocolate ganache that goes on top of the cheesecake is really the finishing touch to make the cheesecake look beautiful. So It's well worth the extra time to do that. Let's see, it's almost there. Another minute. You can see there's still some lumps in the chocolate, so we just keep stirring until it's nice and smooth. Now we're going to let that sit for a couple of minutes till the chocolate cools slightly. You don't want to pour it right on the cheesecake when it's this hot, so we'll let this mellow a little bit. What do you think? Okay, ganache is ready, it just needs to cool. Okay. So now we've melted the chocolate for the ganache, and it's cooled off for a few minutes so it's not piping hot. And we're going to pour it over the cheesecake and start the process of spreading it around. So stay tuned for this. This is exciting.
What do you like about this cheesecake recipe so much?
Well, one, I like this cheesecake recipe because it's very easy. I like Bailey's Irish cream, and as you can tell, the chocolate ganache is hiding all the imperfections in the cheesecake. So we pour it on, and we get it all onto the cheesecake. And at this point, you want to start moving fairly quickly because you have it's starting to set up. Remember, the cheesecake has been chilled in the refrigerator, so we just start the process of moving the chocolate to let it naturally flow over the side of the cheesecake. Keep it moving. And as you can see, the chocolate is the highlight of this cheesecake as it runs over the side. You don't have to worry about imperfections on the side. Like right now, this chocolate is kind of covering all of the sides, which is okay. And then you can just take your offset spatula and you can make a nice decoration on the top. And there you have it. It's done. Okay, here we go. We got our finished product. We're gonna take a piece of the cheesecake and try it out, see how good it tastes. So sharp knife, cut down.
Looks pretty when you're cutting it.
Nice big piece of cheesecake. How's it look?
Beautiful.
And of course, we got to try it. Everybody see the... One of my best ones yet. So until the next time, greetings from the foundation. Cheesecake for everybody.